All right, so welcome, girls. Gosh, you're all jumping on. Yay! Did y'all have a good day? Thumbs up. Little windy. Everybody getting blown around. I've been so afraid the trees are going to come down, but so far so good. So tonight I am. This is a response to when we were at Believe You. A couple of girls said, "Gosh, I feel so crazy at mealtime and trying to do 31, but feel like a good mom and all that sort of thing." And so I met Karen through actually a group that she and I were working with Dana Wild in a small group. You guys hear me talk about Dana all the time and training your brain. So Karen is a brain trainer, and she has a passion about the dinner time table and having families be able to have dinner. And so I said, gosh, what a great way to network and have her share some of her great tips. And she has a whole PowerPoint presentation that she's going to share with us tonight. But she is with Wild Tree, which is an organic, all-natural food company. And she has earned 7 trips from their company and has been consistently in their top sales. But tonight she's all about helping you guys be amazing moms. So take it away, Karen.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that introduction. I'm going to tell you just a little bit more about me, and then I'll have a couple questions for you guys, and then we're going to hop into the presentation. So I started working full-time in the corporate world when I was 18 and worked full-time until the age of 43 when I had my son. So I have spent most of my life in the corporate world. And when I was working there, it was very much an environment of it was not family friendly, unfortunately, where I was working. They were very clear, especially if you were in management, you wanted to get ahead. The 50-hour work week is what you should expect. And at that point in time, I didn't have my son. I was married, but it was okay to come home, get home late, start working, on dinner and be eating dinner at 7:30. Like, it wasn't awesome, but it was okay. However, once I had my son, then I discovered, hey, when kids are hungry, they need to eat like pronto, and you can't be having dinner at 7:30 at night. And then I started my Wild Tree business, which is a direct sale business, just like 31, and got busy, and just also didn't have the amount of time that I used to have for meal planning. So I know that you guys are leading incredibly busy lives. Many of you are working outside the home, and you are running your 31 business, and you are managing your household, and it is essentially like having 3 jobs. So it's a lot on your plate. And I'm hoping that maybe I can give you some, tips and suggestions that might be able to make mealtime and meal planning a little bit easier for you. The reason why meal planning is such an important topic to me really kind of dates back into my family history. So I come from a family of 5 kids. There were 4 of us girls. And then I was the youngest girl. I had a younger brother who's 5 years younger than me. And when I was 14 years old, my parents separated. And it was an unusual situation because my mom actually left the home and took my brother with her. And it was my sisters and I living with my dad. And my dad had a job where he traveled literally every week, all week long. So the issue kind of came up like, oh, how's dinner going to happen? And at that time, my mom had been a stay-at-home mom. She cooked from scratch every night. And I had started to get kind of curious about the kitchen. I would go in and watch what was going on. I had started doing some baking, making cookies. So I understood that cooking was really about following a recipe. And I said, oh, okay, I'll do this. And really didn't know where to start. Turned to my mom and she said, okay, well, what you have to do is just sit down and think about what you and your girls, you and your sisters want to have for dinner. And then you have to look up those recipes, and then you're going to need to write up a grocery list because, again, I was 14 years old, so I couldn't hop in the car and go to the grocery store by myself. I had to do this planning while my dad was home on the weekend, give him the grocery list and send it to the store. So that was how I learned how to meal plan. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it was actually a really, really great life skill that I learned that I then took with me. When I left and went to college, I continued meal planning. When I got married, I have always been a person who cooked at home. And in fact, in my family right now, we cook at home pretty much every night. We almost never go out to eat. We literally never pick up takeout. And there's a number of reasons for that. One is just being cost conscious because it's expensive to eat out, even pick up takeout. I mean, even if if you're in the corporate world and you go out for lunch regularly, I mean, it's almost impossible to spend less than $10 or $12, say even on lunch. And if you do that 5 times a week, all of a sudden you could be spending $50 a week on lunch. So to control costs, also to control knowing what's in our food, because I am really health conscious and my husband needs to be careful that he's not eating too much sodium. And when you're picking up takeout or processed foods from the grocery store or going to a restaurant, it's probably going to be high in sodium, it's going to be high in fat. So that kind of lets me control that. But kind of going back to my family situation, one of the things that it really did for us is that every night we sat down to dinner together around the table. And this was a really difficult, painful, dysfunctional time in our family. And yet we could kind of put that aside when we were all sitting around the table, having dinner together, connecting, laughing. And that's what I feel that mealtime should be all about. So that's really the reason why I'm very passionate about trying to help people with mealtimes, because we do have busy lives. And it's important to be able to sit down, have that time to connect as a family, feel good about what you're feeding your family, and relax, and let dinner time be a special time instead of feeling like it's a stressful time. So let me just start by we can hop into the chat if you feel comfortable in sharing. I would love to hear what are challenges that you feel like you're running up against right now at dinner time. What was the reason why, when you saw this was a topic tonight, you said, yeah, I want to hop on this? Or if there's, if there was a magic wand somebody could wave and make mealtimes easier for you, what might that be? If you're willing to share, I would just love to see that. Okay, totally hear that, Kayla. Okay. And Patricia, I know you need to watch out for allergens. Fantastic. Alicia, I love it. You're eating dinner together every night. That's such an important thing to do. Fantastic. Okay. Vicki, thank you for sharing that. Not having a plan, that's what I'm going to hop into right now, is give you some really specific tips on meal planning, how I meal plan, and hopefully give you some ideas that might help you to meal plan as well. So I am going to go into sharing the screen. Some sauce. Okay. Oh, I'm just trying to get it to turn the page. There we go. Sorry, it took me a second there. Okay. So just raise your hand for a quick second here if you ever grab takeout because you didn't have time to plan dinner. Or, or you are texting your significant other and saying, oh man, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? Or maybe you really want to cook at home, but you just don't have time. Maybe you get home, you're too tired to cook, so you eat cereal for dinner. Everybody's done that sometime, absolutely. Do you ever feel like you're eating the same meals over and over again, just same dinners? And anyone ever feel like less than a good mom when you're feeding your family foods that really are not all that healthy? Those are really, really, really common issues that I hear over and over and over again. So you're in the right place tonight, because that's what meal planning is all about, that I'm going to help you with. So the benefits of meal planning are that they will add variety so that you don't keep eating the same thing over and over again. You are going to eat healthier because you're cooking at home. You have less food waste because you are going to the grocery store with a plan. And because of that, your grocery shopping goes faster. You'll save time, you save money, and then you can eliminate dinner time stress. So that all sounds pretty fabulous, right? So let me just define what I mean when I talk about meal planning. So what I mean specifically by that is literally sitting down And making a plan, I mean writing it down, whether that might be just in a notebook. So what I have is just a very cheapo, see if I can grab it here so you can see it. Like you can see, this is really El Cheapo. It's probably costs $1 at the grocery store. It's just, you know, lines here where I really do just write Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and write down, okay, here's what we're going to have. And I'm writing the, you know, the complete meal. The way my mom taught me was you have a protein and a starch and a vegetable, and that's just kind of how I learned how to meal plan. And so that's what I'm writing down in my planner. So some people like to put it in their actual day planner. I think that's awesome as well. Some people might have a separate, like a meal planner that they can even just hang in the kitchen or on the refrigerator. And that can be really nice. So then you don't have your kids asking you, you know, 17 times, Mom, what's for dinner? What's for dinner? What's for dinner? You can just have it right there, like, here's what we're having for dinner tonight. So you're going to write it down, and then you're going to use that plan to create your grocery list. So when I am putting my grocery list together, the very first thing I do is that piece of it, figuring out what our dinners are going to be, then, you know, checking my pantry, my refrigerator, and so on to create my grocery list with what I need. And then I work backwards from there, and I fill in, okay, you know, what do we need for breakfast? What do we need for lunches? What do we need for snacks? But I just feel like figuring out what you're having for dinner is kind of the big piece, and I want to get that done right away. So here's the process, and I don't want you to panic and think, oh my gosh, is she out of her mind? I can't take an hour or 2 hours to plan every week. It's absolutely not going to take that long every week. But I do want to be honest with you, if you have never ever done this, then realistically, the very, very first time you do this, yeah, it might take that long if you have a lot to clean out. And the reason why is because what you want to do first is to literally clean out and inventory what you currently have in your refrigerator, in your freezer, in your pantry. And the easiest way to do a clean out / inventory is to literally take everything out. Take it out so you know exactly what's in there, and so you only put back what you are really, really, really going to use. So, you know, refrigerator time, obviously anything's kind of old, a little moldy, yuck, we're going to toss that out. The freezer, this is where you can suddenly discover that, oh yeah, a couple of months ago I was at the store and they had a special on chicken breast, and I got a couple packages, and then they kind of got buried at the bottom of the freezer. And oh hey, here they are. You just discovered things. Your pantry, boy, that can be a place where things are hiding too. And you can just get things also reorganized so that they're easier to find, so that you have like maybe all your canned goods together and all your grains together, all that kind of thing. This is where you might discover, oh, I got a couple of cans of enchilada sauce because I meant to make enchiladas, you know, and then I forgot. I didn't realize I still have that in there. So you can see if you've never done this before, yep, the very first time it's going to kind of take a while, but it's going to be a really helpful clean out process. From that point, it is not going to take that long. I do this every week. It doesn't take long at all. Now I'm just kind of quick looking through the refrigerator, throwing out anything that might need to be thrown out. But because I do meal planning, there's not much that needs to be thrown out. That's what you'll start to find out. The benefit of meal planning is I'm using up everything that I bought at the grocery store. I don't, same thing with the freezer. I don't have things that are just undiscovered hiding in there because I'm using them. But the main reason why I do this is because you want to use up what you already have on hand. We don't want to be going to the grocery store and spending money when maybe we have some protein in our freezer already. Maybe you have some canned goods in the pantry already that you want to use. So we're going to do the clean out. You're going to create a list. This can be just within your mind, or literally start, you know, creating them. And if you are needing to find new recipes, you can go through cookbooks, you can go online. But here is the really critical thing. Plan your meals according to your schedule and consider the prep and cook time that's needed. So what I mean by that is, as I'm deciding what we're going to have for dinner, I go to our family calendar that just hangs in my kitchen. And that's where I'm going to record any events that are happening at school, any trips my husband has to travel for work, anything that maybe I'm going to be doing in the evening. I'm going to look at that first, and I'm going to figure out what are nights where we're just really busy. So I need to have the very fastest, either something that is just a very fast cook time. I can come in the door and have dinner ready in 20 minutes because maybe you need to come home from work, eat a quick dinner, and then head back out the door to do a party. Or maybe you've got kids that need to go to soccer or some other kind of sporting event. Those are going to be nights where you need to be picking really quick foods, or maybe those are going to be a good night to be using the slow cooker. You're going to plan and see what are the nights where I just don't have a lot of time. I need something really, really fast. What are nights where I have more time and maybe I can try a new recipe? That'll make a difference. And as you're writing it down in your planner, the other thing you want to remember to do is reference for yourself where to find the recipe so that you're not wasting time trying to, oh yeah, where is the recipe for this? You can put that right in the same place. So you're going to look at your schedule. You're going to plan. First of all, what I really advise is as you're trying to decide on recipes, try to work around anything that you already have on hand so that you're using up what you have in your pantry or what you have in the freezer already. When you are meal planning, what this will help you do is to limit your grocery shopping to 1 day a week. I have some clients that I've been working with, and I would discover that they were stopping at the store 2 or even 3 times a week. If you can get organized on the weekends, get clear on what you have at home that you can already use, know exactly what you need. You're only going to make 1 trip to the grocery store, and different options that you can be thinking about as you are planning your meals would be maybe slow cooker meals, freezer meal cooking, using your Instant Pot. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the Instant Pot, but it's sort of a new appliance. It came out within the past couple of years. It's an electric pressure cooker, so it's pretty cool. It can take foods that would normally take a long time to cook and cook them in a way faster time, but it does it just the kitchen counter. It's not the big scary pressure cooker that I remember from my mom's day where I was afraid it was going to blow the kitchen up. And of course, cooking from scratch. The important thing here is to get into a routine of when you are going to do your planning so it turns into a habit. So think about what would be a good time. For me, I just chose Sundays. I create my list on Sunday. I do my planning on Sunday. It's a habit. It's a routine. I will always do that every week. And so we're going to have a plan every single week. Now, some people like to have a theme. They find that makes it a little easier for them to plan. So every week they're going to do some kind of a meatless Monday, recipe. Tuesday, it's Taco Tuesday. Wednesday, they'll do slow cooker or soup. Thursday, they plan in that we're going to have leftovers. Maybe they choose to eat out on a Friday. That's their fun night, or maybe that's their date night. Maybe on Saturday, they do grilling. Maybe Sunday would be family style. I know for me, Sunday is always going to be something that takes longer to cook because that's a day when I have more time. So I'll do a roast or I'll do a chicken, something like that might take 2 hours or so. And I can feel relaxed about the time. I personally also like to base my planning seasonally. So I'm really well aware right now I'm going to be using root vegetables more than I would at any other time of the year because root vegetables are really seasonal right now. And this is another way that I can avoid feeling like we just eat the same thing all the time. At this time of year, we're going to have more sweet potatoes or parsnips, turnips, things like that are seasonal. In the spring, when asparagus comes back in, that's going to be featured a lot as a side dish or a main dish. At the end of the summer, eggplant comes in. So we're going to have eggplant parmesan. So I also like to be really aware of what's happening in the seasons. And I go a little bit lighter with meals in the summer. And in the winter, I'm a little bit more into comfort foods and making pot roasts and stews and things like that. Another method that I like is kind of basing my meal planning also on protein. I do not like to eat the same thing all the time, and this kind of helps me not do that. And I do try to make sure we're eating fish or some kind of seafood once or twice a week. So oftentimes I will base my meal planning that way. So one night we're going to have chicken, the next night let's have fish, the next night we can have beef. Maybe we'll have fish again after that, something with pork, a vegetarian dish, maybe chicken. And then, of course, using it up. I'm always trying to use up and always remembering to consider the prep time on my meals. So here are some sanity savers for you. There are a few things that you can do that will save a lot of time during the week. So cooking ahead is one of them. And you can do this for breakfast, for lunch, for snacks, for dinner. And let me just give you a few examples. Now, I don't know if your family is crazy in the morning with kids trying to get off to school and parents trying to get off to work. If you do find that, you can do some prep ahead breakfasts. Egg cups are really good for that. You make them on the weekend and then just warm them up during the week, or just a whole big egg bake, like a big egg casserole. One thing that I really like to do is I really like a vegetarian hash. So I will make a hash that's made out of diced sweet potatoes, diced red pepper, some onion, maybe some mushrooms, just any kind of vegetables that you like. But what I'm doing is I'm making literally about 5 times as much as I'm actually going to eat right there at that setting, because it's really easy to then warm up the leftovers during the week and then just make a couple of fried eggs or poached eggs that I'm going to put on top of the hash. And now I'm having a really healthy, protein-filled breakfast that was actually very quick to make. And overnight oatmeal can be really good as a quick breakfast here. Now for lunch, I want to show, I'm wondering if you guys are able to see this okay, or if I might want to, can you guys see that okay? Or I can stop the screen share. Can you see what I'm holding here? This is a mason jar salad. So I don't know if you have heard of mason jar salads, but the idea behind this is that you are actually going to go ahead and prep. You can prep 5 of these and they will stay fresh. And I can send Carol the sheet that has the instructions, because what helps them stay fresh is that there is a particular order that you're going to put things in. So if you can see here, I've got my vegetables down at the bottom. And so you start with the hardest vegetables, and then you go up through adding like grains and nuts and things like that. And then you put your greens at the very top here and pack everything in really nice and tight. And these will stay fresh. And so what's wonderful is then come lunchtime, you can just pull this out, because I know one thing that I have found is women, oftentimes we are taking care of everyone else around us, making their meals, making sure that they're getting something good to eat, and maybe not, you may not always have the time or be making the time to have good nutritious food for yourself. And it's so important. So that can be a really effective way to make sure you're getting a good healthy lunch. I like to add some protein in addition on top of the salad. Just eating a green salad, even if it has lots of vegetables on it, for me does not keep me quite full enough. So that's where during the week, I will make some extra protein. So if we're having chicken, I'm gonna make an extra chicken breast. So I can cut that up and put that on top of my green salad. Or I will buy some canned salmon at the store, and I'm gonna add that onto my salad. I always have avocados in the house. Avocados are a really good source of healthy fats. And those are a great thing to put on top of your salad. Now for snacks, I even am planning ahead for snacks. If you have little ones, you can even make your own snacks if you want to avoid, for instance, buying you know, crackers or cookies at the grocery store. When my son was young, we would buy like wheat thins and peanut butter and make our own peanut butter crackers. Trying to buy vegetables and clean them and cut them and have them stored right ahead so they're right there and ready for you to use. Really just kind of having those healthy choices handy so that you don't have to think about it. And then going into dinner time, a strategy that I really love is cooking once and eating twice. And what I'm talking about is not necessarily leftovers, but repurposing what you've used. So one example here is one night you've made some shredded beef in the crock pot. So the idea behind this is deliberately making more than you need for that night's dinner so that then you can repurpose the additional that's left. So you've made some, you know, beef in the crock pot. You're going to use it for pulled beef sandwiches tonight. Now you've got this leftover beef that you can use for enchiladas the next night. And if you've got some meat left over even at that point, then you could save that and use that in the future, even for tacos. I find this is a really, really easy thing to do, especially with things like stews. Anytime I'm making something like beef stew, I will make twice as much. And then I will just take the leftover and freeze it, and then we can have it again in a couple of weeks. Spaghetti and meatballs, super easy to do this with. I honestly like double or triple anytime I'm making that because it's just such an easy thing to freeze and then use it again, maybe a couple of weeks down the line. Casseroles are really easy. I know it sounds kind of funny, but you know, just really think to yourself as you're planning something like, hey, would it take too much longer to just go ahead and actually make 2 of these? Because it usually doesn't take that much longer to go ahead and double something up. And that's what I like about this idea, because I feel like it's just making you more productive. If you're going to be cooking anyway, you can just make more. If you're going to be making a lasagna, for instance, it honestly just doesn't take that much time to go ahead and make twice as much sauce. You know, buy twice as much of the cheese, make one lasagna, eat it for dinner tonight, make the other one, you can part bake it and then be rewarming it, or just wrap it up, don't bake it at all, and just make sure to write good notes to yourself when you're gonna be pulling it back out of the freezer so you can remember, okay, did I bake this or did I not bake this? When did I put this in here? But those are just really, really easy things to cook once and eat twice. Chicken is another great one just because chicken is so versatile. So if you roast a chicken, you can then take your leftovers and just take it off the bone. So for myself, I'm only cooking for 3. So if I was going to just try to make a chicken for dinner, I would probably make a 3-pound chicken. So what I do is I make a 6-pound chicken. And I am going to then just strip the meat off the bones, and then I can use that chicken to either create a casserole, or I could do chicken tetrazzini, or I could make chicken quesadillas, chicken enchiladas, so many different things, even put it on pizza, or just have that chicken that then I could use chicken sandwiches for lunch, or I could put it on top of my green salad. So I really find that I can do a lot with that. Things that really freeze and reheat well, of course, also are going to be soups, stews, chili. So you can have, maybe one night you can have chili and you're having it with a salad. And maybe another night you could make baked potatoes and open that up and serve the chili over the baked potatoes. And then you could also, again, for your own lunch, one of the things that I did is I just ordered through Amazon they're like portion size bowls so that I could make soup on the weekend and then portion out a single serving size and put that in the freezer. And what I like to do is I will take a weekend and I'll make 2 different kinds of soups. And then maybe on the following weekend, I'll make 2 more different kinds of soups. I use half of it during the week, and then the other half I'm putting it into serving size containers and putting that into my freezer. And after doing that 2 weekends in a row, I'm really very set with soups for probably about the next 6 weeks. Now, I've been talking a lot about proteins and meat. You can tell that my family is a meat eater. Some of you might be vegetarians, maybe you're vegan. You can absolutely do this, kind of thing as well. You could make a big pan of roasted vegetables, and then during the week, you could have vegetable quesadillas. You could do quinoa or rice bowls. One of the things that I discovered when I started doing this salad in a jar is this document that I'm going to share with you has a lot of different ideas about different salad toppings, and it helped me get a little bit more creative in different vegetables and other ingredients that I would put on the salad. One of them was quinoa, and I don't know if you guys use quinoa a whole lot, but it is a really, really fabulous source of protein. And what I discovered is that you can cook quinoa. So if you cook a cup of it, it expands while it's cooking. It turns into about 3 cups. On a Sunday, I will make that, and then I will use half of it that week to put into my salad in a jar, my mason jar salad. And then you can take the rest of it and put it into a Ziploc freezer bag. And it's unreal how well this will freeze. And then you take it back out and thaw it. So that's another little thing that you can do while you're cooking is, making extra of things like quinoa that you could use later in the week. Or maybe you're making some brown rice. Go ahead and make twice as much that you're going to use later in the week. It's really easy to just warm it back up, or especially if you're going to be putting a sauce over it. Even with noodles, you can do that, and it becomes very easy. So just some recent examples from my life that I've used is a couple weeks ago, we had meatloaf for dinner. So that night we had just kind of a traditional meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and a vegetable on the side. And then 4 days later, I just took the leftovers. That night we had meatloaf sandwiches and soup. Another night we had pork tenderloin. And when you buy pork tenderloins, I don't know how they come where you guys live, but where I'm living, there's always 2 in a package. And my family only needs 1, but I go ahead and make both of them. So that night for dinner, we had pork tenderloin with twice baked potatoes and a vegetable. And then a little bit later in the week, I took that second tenderloin, which I had already cooked, and then I cut it up into bite-sized pieces. I just made some brown rice, I steamed some broccoli, and then I kind of just tossed that all together in a teriyaki sauce, and now I had a stir fry. It was really, really quick and easy to throw together. We tend to have tacos at least once a week. I always deliberately make more of the taco meat than we need so that my husband can just reheat that on the weekend, and he can be eating tacos for his lunch on the weekend, and I can be having the protein to put on my salads during the week. If you're vegetarian, it's really pretty easy to double up on things like a stir fry or a pasta that you could eat later in the week, or maybe eat for your lunch. If you were doing something like maybe quinoa stuffed peppers, for instance, you could make more filling and then use the extra filling in portobello mushrooms. So what I like to do is just be thinking ahead as you're doing your planning, as you're making. So for instance, when I'm planning something like pork tenderloin, I'm thinking ahead like, oh, okay, but there's going to be 2 tenderloins in the package. What could I do with that second one? I'm going to go ahead and cook both of them and then plan for both of them during the week. What it will let you do is maximize the time that you're already spending in the kitchen. Now, another way that you can maximize time is freezer meals. The idea behind this is you're actually going to be putting raw ingredients into these packages. So when I was talking about, cooking once and eating twice, what I'm talking about there is actually making the food and then repurposing it. What I'm talking about here is you're not actually cooking it yet. You're just doing your prep ahead of time And what that does is just save you time so that then you can come home and just jump right into the cooking part of it instead of having to do the chopping and the prepping of it. What this will help you do too is take advantage of sales. So you can bulk shop your protein, you're going to cut and trim your meat, you're going to wash and cut your vegetables, and then you just kind of assemble the bags in an assembly line fashion. And then of course, you know, mark them with a Sharpie. So you remember, okay, what exactly I have in here. So an example of this might be fajitas. You could buy, let's say you wanted to have steak fajitas. You bought your steak, you're going to go ahead and cut it into strips. You're going to cut your peppers into strips, cut your onions into strips, whatever else you like to have in your fajitas. Throw that into a gallon-size Ziploc freezer bag and go ahead and throw your fajita seasoning in there and just kind of toss it all together. You can put it in the refrigerator if you're going to use it this week, or you can put it into your freezer and then take it out the night before you're going to use it, let it thaw. What it will let you do is just walk into the kitchen and get your pan out and start cooking. You've done that cutting and chopping already. So you're putting in some time, obviously, in the front end, but it really does save you time in the back end. And it saves you cleanup time as well. Another thing that works really well with this is anything that you're going to put into a bag with a marinade. So if you have a favorite Asian sauce that you like to use, or you have a great barbecue sauce that you love, or oil and vinegar or salad dressings can be great marinades. You can put your protein. It can be fish, it can be shrimp, it can be pork, it could be chicken, it can be beef. Any of those can go into the bag with the marinade, and you can freeze them and then thaw them and pull them out. And it just saves you a lot of time when it's time to eat. It's another thing that I like to do with vegetables that's very time saving. Come home with my lettuce, go ahead and spin it in my lettuce spinner, dry it off, put it into a container. Now it's ready to go. Do the same thing, you know, cutting up carrots so that when someone's hungry and they're looking for a snack, it's right there. Or when you need to have things quick and handy for stir fries, they're just right there and ready to go. Now, if you're going to be cooking at home, cooking from scratch, I do want to just take a couple of minutes to talk about labels. And I won't spend a ton of time here, but just kind of a quick guide as you're looking at labels is, first of all, starting with the serving size, because this can be a little deceiving sometimes. I tend to be looking at, okay, how much sugar does something have? How much sodium does something have? And sometimes you look and you think, oh, that's not too bad. And then all of a sudden you look at the serving size and you realize, oh, wow, well, that was only for, you know, there was only a few tablespoons in this. So be aware of that. You've got your serving size, obviously your calories. We really want to limit saturated fat. You really want to try to completely avoid trans fat. That's really the worst kind of fats that we can be eating. Dietary fiber, we want to be high. That's good for us. People are trying to keep sugar low and probably trying to keep sodium low as well. And then moving right into next thing that I tend to look at is going to be the actual ingredients themselves. I take a quick look. One of the first things that I'm going to look for is how long is the list, because the longer the list, the more likely it's going to be to contain chemicals and fillers. And so the shorter the list, the better. I tend to feel that if I don't recognize it, then my body probably doesn't either. And our body isn't really made to process man-made artificial ingredients. So when you're seeing things like silicon dioxide or ethoxyquin here on the left-hand side, that's actually a pesticide. I did see that on taco seasoning at our local grocery store, and I came home and put it into Google and discovered, wow, that is a pesticide. And it's just, wow, right there on the label. Another thing to be aware of is that the ingredients are listed by volume. So the order of the ingredients is really, really important. When we're looking at the taco seasoning on the left-hand side, it starts with maltodextrin and salt. That means there's a lot of that in there. So that particular product is really going to have a lot of salt. It's the second ingredient. So I take a look at that, and again, I just kind of compare. The organic taco seasoning really has ingredients that I would use if I was making it myself. I'm probably going to go with that. So just kind of a good rule of thumb there. And you can really hop in if you're concerned about additives. It's very easy to go onto Google and just try to get a list of, you can just say additives to avoid. There's all kind of lists out there. Again, I really like to just go with a rule of thumb. If my grandma didn't eat it, if my great grandma didn't eat it, I probably don't want to eat it either. Probably isn't necessary. All of these on this list are proven to be harmful to our health, and they're usually added in there for the purposes of the manufacturer, either to try to make it look a little bit more appealing to kids, like with food dyes, or just so that it would be something that they can keep keep in their warehouses for a lot longer. And then the final thing to really be aware of as you're looking at ingredients is knowing that the FDA doesn't actually recognize or define the word natural. And I really never knew that until I started working with Wild Tree. When I was at the grocery store, I thought if it said natural on it, that actually meant something. But that's not regulated, and there isn't any uniform set of standards. And so really, any food manufacturers can just put the word natural on there. It typically has a higher price. And what I have found when I flip over and start looking at the labels, I definitely find ingredients that I would not consider to be natural. Another thing that I have noticed is that they also tend to be pretty high in sodium and in sugar. So the only thing that is actually regulated is the word organic. So if that's a concern for you, do watch out for natural, because I especially see in things that are targeted towards kids, that word natural tends to be used a lot. And the reality is it doesn't actually mean anything. So major lessons to take away from meal planning are to minimize those middle of the grocery store purchases. And that lets you avoid processed food. So when I say shop the outside of the grocery store, what I'm talking about is the outer aisles where you can pick up fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, your meats, your dairy, and then be able to cook from scratch at home. And find what works for you so that you can replace convenience foods if you're using them. The key thing is always being prepared when you go to the grocery store, and just, keeping things simple. If you haven't been, meal planning to date, just take it one step at a time, but maybe set a goal for yourself to save more and waste less. This is just a picture of one of the things that we do in Wild Tree, is help people put together freezer meals. So this is just an example of someone who took one of our kits and put together 10 meals, and it's got the ingredients right in there that she's going to be able to come home and have dinner without stress. Meal planning will help you save time, because every night is planned. It'll take the stress out of dinner time for you, because you don't have to think about it. That's one of the things that I really love. I know it sounds really anal, perhaps, to have a notebook, but I don't have to think about dinner during the day. And I have a lot of things to think about during the day, and I know you guys do too. It's just one less thing to have to worry about. I just pull my notebook out and, oh yeah, this is what we're having for dinner tonight. That's great. The only way you can do that, though, is by making it a habit. So if it's not a habit right now, one thing that I will tell people to do is even schedule a reminder into your phone. If you decided, yep, I want to do my meal planning, say every Sunday, have a reminder scheduled into your phone that's going to pop up. Say, remember to do meal planning, because if it's not something that you're doing on a regular basis right now, it might take some reminders to turn it into a habit. But when you do, it will help you to waste less food. It'll help you to buy less. You will find that you're going out less. You're going to eat what you plan. And that can really save you money, because Consumer Reports tells us that the average American throws out $20 for every $100 that they spend if you're not doing meal planning. So that can certainly really, really add up over time. So what I find oftentimes when I am making this presentation is at that point, people will look at me and say, okay, this makes sense. I totally get it, that it will save me time on the back end if I spend some time on the front end. Karen, I am really busy and I just don't know how I'm going to fit this in. So I'm just going to take a minute and tell you what I do here with WildTree in case it might be helpful to you, because I totally understand that. And to be honest, it is true that meal planning can take some time. I do feel that it's worth the time to put in because of the benefits that comes from it, but it can take time. And what we do at WildTree is to simplify it so that it won't be taking a lot of your time, because we've really done the meal planning for you. So we're a meal solutions company. We do meal planning in a number of different ways. One of them is our make ahead meals, the dinner prep kits. Another one is what we call dinner in a dash. We also have a wellness shake, and we have free meal planning resources. So I have a personal website that has a recipe database with over 1,000 recipes, and that can also be accessed on your phone. It's a free app, and it not only has recipes, but then it also has a menu planner built right into it, where you can actually pick your dinners, schedule them into the week, and then create a grocery list. It will actually put the grocery list together for you that you can print out or have right there on your phone. And then we also have something that's called Club WildTree, that is our loyalty program. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things about each of these, and then we'll wrap up and see if you have any questions for me. So the shake that we have is really great for if you are trying to eat healthy in a hurry. It is something that you can use as an actual meal replacement, or it can be something, for myself, I use it as a healthy snack or just as an additive for my breakfast. Like I will just add a scoop of our vanilla powder into my oatmeal. It's a great way to add protein. It's got protein and fiber, keeps you full, and has probiotics and prebiotics. The other things that we offer to take guessing work out of dinner time is make ahead meals. So that is coming back to the freezer meals that I showed you. So these are kits, and what they have in them are the recipes, the seasonings, and the grocery list that you can make 10 meals to put in the freezer and then pull out when it's dinner time. And each meal is going to feed 4 to 6. The dinners in a dash is 8 different recipes. So this is really perfect for someone who's just saying, I don't necessarily feel like I have to prep ahead, but I'm really, really tired of eating the same 5 things for dinner every week. Give me some new ideas. And then we also have what we just call the WildTree Pantry. And what this is are healthy versions of convenience foods. So when you look at this little picture, you see chicken and broccoli Alfredo. And when you look at the picture underneath it, you see the little jar. What that is a product. It's the Alfredo blend. So instead of buying a jar of pre-made Alfredo sauce at the grocery store, which is probably going to have some additives and a lot of sodium, you just melt milk and butter together and you add the blend, and you can be eating that chicken broccoli Alfredo dinner within 20 minutes of walking in the door. So we have all kinds of healthy versions of convenience foods. So, you know, taco seasoning and spaghetti seasoning and sloppy Joe mix, a lot of really family friendly foods to help you get dinner on the table very fast. And as I mentioned, we have the app that will help you with menu planning, give you access to recipes, and actually build a menu plan and a grocery list. So when I use this, I can do my menu planning and create a grocery list, honestly, within 5 minutes if I want to. If I just decide I'm going to do dinner in a dash, we have one that's really popular that's called sheet pan dinners. I'll just say, okay, you know what, for the next 7 days, we're just going to have one of these dinner in a dash recipes. I'll program that into the planner and have it create the grocery list for me. So just super fast. And then the loyalty program that we have helps people earn money back. It's basically kind of like earning, I like to call it wild tree bucks. So I'm going to pop back into the chat here, and I will, before we end here, I'll put my contact information in here, and I'm going to look at the questions here and make sure that I can answer any questions or concerns that you might have. But one thing that I do want to let you know is that if you are intrigued at all, interested in finding out whether wild tree could be helpful to you, I'm going to put my contact information here because we can have a free consultation. You can learn more, you can ask me questions. So I'll put my cell phone number. You can text me if you want to schedule a free call. We can do it over Zoom and just chat with each other. I'll also put my website in case you want to look at that, and I'll put in my Facebook group. But
Here, would you
cut back?
Can you show that the ingredients in the shake again? I wanted to look at that. Can you bring that?
You want me to bring it back up?
Would you please?
I sure would.
Because we do a lot of shakes around here.
Yeah, I really love the shake. I had not used one. I'm trying to figure out how to go backwards. Oh, okay. Hang on a second.
I challenged you there.
I know. You guys, I'm not the techiest person in the world. Hang on a sec.
And you didn't have a glitch until I asked you to go.
I know. I did pretty good. I'm going to go back and.
You did great. That had so many ideas. Did you guys?
Oh, good. I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'm just going to flick through really fast. Oh, why is it doing this?
Or if you scroll down, if you take the little sidebar. Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can do that too. And anybody else, if you want to unmute and ask her a question, you certainly can.
Honestly, you know what? I'll send you a document on it. I'm going to send you that other document with the. I couldn't talk. Could you guys see this? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
This is a fun. This is really cool.
Yes, I would love to have that on how to make those. That's a great idea. And
yeah, I'm going to send you that, and then I'll send you the info on the shake because it's vegan, it's gluten free.
Okay.
It's less than 1 gram of sugar, and it's no added sugar.
Yeah.
While I'm doing show and tell, I'll show you guys. This is what the kits look like the make ahead kits, and then it's got the recipes.
Yeah.
Recipe book in here. But let me pop into the chat so that I can see what kind of comments. Okay, so we had awesome. Kids are hungry before dinner is ready. And then, yeah, if snacks are eaten, then dinner isn't eaten. Yeah, that is a really tough one. I do have some clients actually who are using our shake as an after school snack. And so they'll make the shake and maybe split it between the kids. So what it's tending to do is helping with that problem. It's a healthy snack for them. It's not filling them up so much that then they can't eat dinner. Yeah, but that's a tough one, trying to give them like a healthy snack that won't get them too full. It's definitely a challenge. So another challenge, this is a tough one. You've got allergen issues and different preferences and dislikes. Yeah, not fun. We are a super allergen friendly company. So if you want to learn a little bit more, just let me know if you want to schedule a call, because I can totally understand that that's a challenge. But one of the reasons why people do like Wild Tree, I should tell you guys this. So we are truly an all natural and organic food company. We do not have any chemicals or additives, no food dyes, no MSG, no high fructose corn syrup, no peanuts. We have a ton of gluten-free products, and we're much lower in sodium and sugar than ingredients that you would find at the grocery store. So we can be very, very helpful for people who do have any dietary restrictions or people who have allergens. I'm going to look again. Okay, Kayla, this is a really good point. She shared that it's hard to plan ahead to know what you're going to want to eat, right? And I have heard other people say that before. And the suggestion that I can make to you toward that that I have found helpful is that when I plan ahead, because I have it planned and because I have this notebook, it kind of helps me more or less convince myself that this is what I feel like eating tonight. You know what I mean? Because I have it planned, I glance at it in the morning, I'm thinking about it during the day, and maybe it's just me, but I am able then to start kind of having desire for it because I'm thinking about it during the day. So it's a transition if it's not something that you're used to, but if you start doing it, you might find that you will actually want to eat what you've planned. For what it's worth, it's worth trying. So ingredients that don't freeze well in a casserole, I would stay away. Vegetables, I would definitely stay away from zucchini. Zucchini is gross if you try to freeze it. Disgusting. But I really can't think of anything else that hasn't frozen well in a casserole. I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in and share if you do any, freezing. But that would be the only one. In freezer meals that I do, I will put in vegetables. Vegetables will get a little bit soft. So if you like your vegetables to be like a really crisp tender, then I wouldn't freeze them and thaw them. But I don't really, that doesn't bother me. But I absolutely would stay away from zucchini because it's got a lot of liquid in it and it just gets really mushy and gross and disgusting. All right, primary protein. Oh, someone else's trash is re-engineering. Woot, 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 woot. Awesome. Oh, I love it. I love it. Great. Awesome. And people have been, there's some really good suggestions here, so absolutely be sure to take a look at the chat. But I think I'm not seeing any unanswered questions. Anybody have questions on anything that I brought up that I didn't really cover here? I'm going to share some documents. I'm going to share my contact information. On Facebook, you'll just find me under Karen Gleason if you want to just, friend me or look at my profile or anything like that. And then my website is...
Karen, that app to be able to do the, where you can get the whole list of like picking out your recipes and the, all that, like how do you get, is that like
so you can go, yeah, so I'll put this here. So app, you can search the app store. You just put in Wild Tree, and then you'll need to have my referral code. So I'll put that in here.
Is there a cost to it?
Nope, totally free.
Oh, that's
awesome. Yeah, and you can also access it right on my website. So I put my website there. You just go into recipes, and then you'll start seeing the menu planner. Oh, I'm going to give you my cell phone. You can text me for a free consultation that we can do just over the phone or Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. And you guys, there's no obligation with that. If you're just kind of curious, want to learn a little bit more, feel free to reach out.
We made the Ethiopian stew because you sent me a recipe,
Oh, yeah.
We really liked it. It was very
good.
And there was a lot, so there's enough that, to second meal with it. So that was
good.
Vegan in the house. So the vegan options.
Yeah, that was a really good example of what we provide is not spices on their own, it's spice blends.
Yes.
So what I sent Carol was something called an Ethiopian spice blend, so that it lets you make a yummy Ethiopian stew without having to search around in your cabinet and find, 7 or 8 different ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was so easy and it was delicious in the crock pot. So
yay!
It was hovering all day. I'm like, Mom, that smells so good because I haven't used the crock pot because she's eating whatnot. I mean, other than chili, but
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing that I would love, if anyone's interested, if you're a person who likes to see a catalog, if you are like, this sounds kind of interesting, but maybe I'd want to taste a sample, happy to send you a free sample. Again, just, text me or message me on Facebook, just connect with me however you want. And I would be happy to do that as well.
Thank you so much, Karen, because I think
You're welcome.
it does come down to planning and taking time. I can remember when my kids were little, a couple of times when we were homeschooling, I would go through and like meal prep for 2 or 3 weeks and put it all in the freezer. And, for 2 days, one day I chopped everything and prepped everything. And then I did it all. And I did it a couple of times. And it was awesome to have those meals. But it does take scheduling the time, the discipline. The payoff is huge as long as you do it consistently and stuff. And it is get together even sometimes with friends to do the prepping together or something. But yeah, very, very helpful. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Are you guys all good?
Yeah. The planning is worth it. It saves you time and it saves you stress during the week. But if you are daunted by the planning, feel free to reach out to me, because honestly, that's what Wild Tree, we can cut that planning time way down.
Yeah, because if you're able to pick the recipes and tell the shopping list and all of that, and then it's like, bam, okay, I can do. I want to get your app, and I'm looking forward to it.
It can happen very fast, and I'd be happy to walk you through and help you figure out what would work for you and your family. So, but if you're not, that's awesome. Cooking at home is the way to go, and I hope you took some tips away here that will just help you to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, but making it a habit, making it a new habit is what'll help. So thank you for getting on tonight, Carol. Thank you for allowing me to share and meet the members of your team. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, and thank you for inspiring us, hopefully, to get more organized about.
Yes. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.